Dick Cribbin along with Jim Hendrick welcoming you back to Tri-Cities, Washington, the Columbia River. We continue now with the restart of Heat 1B. Let's take a look at those boats that'll be participating in the restart. The US 146 Pietro's Pizza, driven by Stephen David of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mike Hansen of Seattle, Washington in the Holset Miss Mazda. Jack Barry of Washington in the KISW Miss Rock. Ron Snyder of Pickaway, Ohio in the Miss Tri-Cities. The U.S. West Cellular, Todd Yarling of Hanover, Indiana. All these boats in the restart. In lane number 1, it is the Miss Rock. Lane number 2, Pietro's Pizza. Lane 3, Holset Miss Mazda. Lane 4, Tri-Cities. U.S. West Cellular apparently having trouble one more time. As they come down for the start, it looks like it's going to be the battle of the Piston Packers as the Holset Miss Mazda tries to take the lead into lane number 1.
And on the outside, it's Ron Snyder who is driving this boat for the very first time, owned by Jerry Shane, the automotive-powered boat, and he's now being left behind as they dive into corner number 1. And also, it looks as though coming off the apex is going to be, and it is, the Holset Miss Mazda. This boat, Dick, was Miss Madison, the Holset Miss Madison. They picked up a sponsor out here on the West Coast. And now our second-place boat, as you look at the Pietro's Pizza, comes up on the inside. Steve David in the cockpit.
And to complete a thought on the Holset Miss Madison, which the boat was up until this race, it is still owned by the 13,000 residents of Madison, Indiana, but sponsored for the next couple of races by the Mazda dealers of Puget Sound. There's Mike Hansen's picture, and there's the boat he's driving out on the course now in the restart of Heat 1B. Still the battle persists between Pietro's Pizza on the inside. That's Stephen David of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Mike Hansen of Seattle, Washington in the Holset Miss Mazda.
Talking in between the original start of this heat and this restart, Mike said he had a problem. Just as Pringles went over, he almost went over. 110.514 mile an hour for our leader after lap number 1. Holset Miss Mazda, Mike Hansen, the driver, as he goes into corner number 2 for the second time.
And watch on the inside because Pietro's Pizza is staying right with him. A good ride for Bob Fendler's boat, which is co-owned by Bob Fendler and Stephen David. There you see Stephen's picture. He is a real estate salesman and, as a matter of fact, head of a large real estate company in the Fort Lauderdale area.
I mentioned that his boat seemed to be faster this week. He said, yes, we're feeding the carburetor pepperoni.
They'll take it with that sponsor. Holset Miss Mazda out in the lead. Back in third place, there's the Miss Tri-Cities, Ron Snyder. He's a veteran driver of many years on the Unlimited and the Limited Hydroplane circuit.
And he won several years ago on this course driving Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser.
This was the course where the Miss Madison debuted this newer version of the boat last year, and Mike Hansen was very, very happy to be able to get the ride this year, but it was Ron Snyder who was driving this boat last year, and this was where he surprised everybody. All of a sudden they said, wow, that boat can really fly. He's just better than 114 miles per hour at this point. The boat is capable of more.
If Ron Snyder had a piece of every uniform he had to wear for every boat or driver or sponsor, he looked like a clown suit.
Well, he certainly is a well-known driver and a reputable one. He handles equipment well. There's a good shot of Stephen David riding in the Pietro's Pizza boat. That boat, as we said, riding much better this week than we've seen it all year. He's now up in second place in this, the restart of Heat 1B. Uh-oh.
Yeah, he had a problem as he went down in the corner number 1 for the first time. He's just floating around. That is Jack Berry in the KISW Miss Rock. He's now a spectator in the infield. As we look at our leader coming off of corner number 4, down to complete another lap, the Holset Miss Mazda, driven by Mike Hansen.
Coming down now for the checkered flag, this boat that is owned by the 13,000 residents of Madison, Indiana, the Holset Miss Mazda, Mike Hansen of Seattle, Washington, the winner of the restart in Heat 1B. So he collects 400 points on the day. Second place goes to Stephen David of Fort Lauderdale, Florida in Pietro's Pizza. Third place to Ron Snyder of Pickaway, Ohio in the automobile-powered Miss Tri-Cities. Good racing on the Columbia River.
So we've had Heat 1A and 1B completed right now. Holset Miss Mazda with 400, Pietro's Pizza 300, Tri-Cities gets 225. No points for Miss Rock or West Cellular. Let's go to the pits and Dick.
First heat win in the new boat.
It feels great. It was a long time coming. It's actually been a year since this thing made its debut here last year as a Miss Madison. Now it's a Holset Miss Mazda. Maybe that's a trick for us this time.
Bob, you guys have been through an awful lot, and this was a patch job on this one.
Oh, my. We have a over
little gratitude to the Budweiser team for jumping in and helping us fix some damage that we had due to that bounce we took when the Pringles had their accident. So we're, and Ron Jones Marine guys that were here helping too. So we had a lot of help there.
Well, Mike, you had no second thoughts about the patch underneath the hull. You obviously went out and raced because you had a little bit of a heat in that first lap.
Well, between the Ron Jones team and the Budweiser team and ours, I knew we had a bunch of good guys working on the boat, so I felt the whole set Miss Moss was going to hang in there. Unfortunately, we didn't have to run real hard to win the heat, so we just needed the 400 points to help us get in the final so we can do it again in the final.
This is the first heat win for this new boat, and we're real pleased.
You're not too happy.
This is where we started last year. We're glad to start with our first heat win here again this year.
Now let's take a further in-depth look at unlimited hydroplane racing. It's time for the Zenith Performance Corner. Let's go to the pits and Dick Crippen. Dick?
First of all, I'd like you to meet an Allison aircraft engine. This happens to be one out of the Hulset Miss Madison. And I want you to assume right off the bat that this is not metal and steel, but in reality, it's molecules working together to form the mass. Steve Fussell is here with us from Metalax. And Steve, actually what your process is a sort of therapy or a massage for an engine.
Yes, it is. We deal with the mass of molecules. We let them answer us back. We drive energy into it, they ring, they give us a resonant frequency. If it has thermal stress in it, it will be in a false location. We then monitor that, and when it relaxes itself, it becomes stable and starts to repeat. We're putting longer life back into the metal.
And simply put, that means that the engine can run a lot more laps in the case of unlimited hydroplanes.
Yes, it is. The Miss Madison normally would run 4 heats and then they would rebuild their engines. We're running 100 heats or 100 laps now. They used to run 4 heats or 40 laps. They're now running over 100 laps with these engines and not having to rebuild them.
Steve, let's talk about setting it up.
Basically, we need a way to monitor what the engine is telling us. We drive energy in until it resonates at a resonant frequency. We then back off of that and let it absorb energy. As it absorbs energy, if it has thermal stresses in it, this will change frequency and then start to repeat itself as I run more scans. Right now, we have introduced energy into it. We're letting it time absorb itself, and then we will run scans and monitor the frequency change.
Well, they're preparing the Hulset Miss Madison for the very next race, and I'll tell you one thing, no matter how tense all of the workers are busy on this boat getting it ready to race, one thing you now know for sure, that engine up there, that's relaxed.
Down here in the pit area, we're talking to the managing director of the Unlimited's Hall of Fame. His name is, of course, Bob Williams. And, Bob, I understand that the Hall of Fame is coming closer and closer to becoming a reality.
I think we'll have a lease signed by San Diego this year.
Now, a lease where?
Tacoma, Washington, on the main waterfront of Tacoma.
You need a lot of space, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. We have a parking lot for 130 cars, 45,000 square footprint, and 300 feet of decking right alongside the sound. We were on the radio last week, and Bernie publicly stated that Budweiser will be behind us, Procter & Gamble is behind us, R.J. Reynolds is behind us, and we have people here in the state of Washington that are very interested in what we're doing.
For more involvement or information on the Unlimited Hall of Fame, you can contact them at Post Office Box 48342, Seattle, Washington, 98148.
We're ready now for the start of Heat 2A. The Miss Budweiser will be driven by Tom Deeth. Miss Northwest, Jack Schaefer Jr. The Miss Tri-Cities, Ron Snyder. Winston Eagle, Larry Lauterbach. Pietro's Pizza, Stephen David. At KISW Miss Rock, Jack Barry will be the driver.
Top action of Heat 2A coming up on the Budweiser Columbia Cup. 7th stop of the HFC American Hydroplane Series in just a moment. Jim Hendrick along with Dick Crippen back here in Tri-Cities, Washington on the Columbia River, Columbia Park, operated by the city of Kennewick with a great crowd on hand, anticipating action of Heat 2A. Now let's go to the pits and Dick Crippen. Dick?
A win under the belt for Larry Lauterbach already this season, and certainly a challenge in every single race. Now you start the Western Tour. What do you look forward to?
You know, the Winston Eagle just is delighted to be here, Dick. We didn't qualify at Tri-Cities as well. We'd hoped to. We're down on miles per hour, but looks like today the wind's played in our favor again, like it did in Syracuse. The wind's picked up. The Winston Eagle likes a lot of wind, so it'll kind of equalize all the boats. And we're looking forward to getting out there and go racing with the guys today.
And now as they come off of corner number 4, the 1-minute clock is down to about 10 seconds on the inside. In lane 1, Miss Budweiser, Pietro's Pizza lane 2, Winston Eagle lane 3, and the rest of the field fills out toward the shoreline as they come down to start Heat 2A. And right out in front, Dick, diving down to corner number 1 is Tommy Deeth and Miss Budweiser.
He had a perfect start. Nose on the line as the final second ticked off the clock. It's a flying start in Unlimited Hydroplane Racing. We might add in here as we look at the action coming out of turn number 1 and Tom Deeth in the lead, that what they do between the 2 sets of heats is they put all the numbers into a hat and literally draw the numbers out. So the mix is totally different and unpredictable for each heat of racing here on the Columbia River and throughout our circuit. There you can see the Winston Eagle back in second place. Larry Lauterbach, he was just telling us he likes the wind out here. Not an awful lot of wind right now. It's kind of up and down today. You can see a good ride by the Miss Budweiser. Tom Deeth holding it in there. And again, it looks like he's just doing enough to hold off second place.
Our second place boat is the Winston Eagle as he kicks up his rooster tail. Only 9 square inches of each sponson on these boats ride the water, only half the prop. The rest of the prop kicks up a rooster tail that can go 50 foot high, 200 foot back. Not too shabby in the speed department for Tommy Deeth.
That's right, just about 132 miles an hour, 131.9 to be exact. And that is considerably higher than he was taking the first heat. So we'll see if he keeps it up there. Third place right now, Pietro's Pizza. That boat is driven by Stephen David out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a young man who's had a lot of experience in the limited hydroplanes. Started out as a rookie last year in Unlimiteds, had a good season, got some honors out of it, and now here he is back in the Pietro's Pizza boat.
Here's your 4th place boat, which is the Miss Tri-Cities Ron Snyder automotive powered boat, if you will, multicolored for this race, and it's his first appearance for this haul on the circuit out west. We did see it in action in Detroit.
And we might emphasize again that there are 2 automobile engines being used in that boat.
This boat is powered by a turbine helicopter engine, military style, if you will, converted to civilian use. As he comes down, the driver is Tommy Deeth from Fairhaven, Michigan. Miss Budweiser looking for his 2nd consecutive heat victory here on the 2-mile oval, Columbia River, Tri-Cities, Washington today.
And another boat down once again. It is Miss Rock, Jack Barry's boat. He has not had good fortune at all with that boat today. They thought they could bring it out here for the first time on the circuit this year and make things happen, but unfortunately it was not to be.
And it makes no difference because there was an infraction of the rules of changing lanes. He was disqualified by the officials anyway, so it wouldn't matter. He wouldn't have gotten any points anyway.
Still in the lead, the red and white boat known as the Miss Budweiser. Bernie Little out of Lakeland, Florida, owns the boat, and he's celebrating now as Tommy Deeth takes the checkered flag. He is the winner in Heat 2A. That gives him 800 points on the day, 400 more added for this heat. Second place goes to the Winston Eagle, Larry Lauterbach, his 2nd of the day. And the Pietro's Pizza's down in the water. He will not finish, so that means 3rd place, the Miss Tri-Cities. There you see the win by the Miss Budweiser, 2nd, Winston Eagle. Let's go to the winning pits now. Jim Hendrick is standing by. Jim?
Well, 2 straight wins so far on the afternoon, and Ronnie Brown, crew chief, you got to be happy with the way the boat's going.
Yes, Jim, we're very happy. We made a lot of changes to Miss Budweiser the last week or so, and it seems as though the balance and things we've done to it, Tom likes it quite a bit, and it seems as though it's dialed in real nice for the weather conditions here, and we couldn't be happier the way Miss Budweiser is running right now.
Bernie, was there ever a thought about maybe bringing out last year's boat and replacing the new boat with it?
Well, we've carried it every race, and needless to say that it's always been ready to go if we had a problem. And, you know, when we left Evansville, we thought we might have a problem, but, you know, we've changed drivers, and we've just kept going with trying to do things to better it, and so we think we're going in the right direction.
We'll be back with more of the HFC American Hydroplane Series from Tri-Cities, Washington in just a moment.
Now for Heat 2B, it'll be Jackpot Food Marts with Jerry Hopp, the driver. Mike Hansen will pilot the whole set Miss Mazda for the 2nd appearance of the day. George Woods Jr. in Oh Boy, Oh Birdo. Mitch Evans will drive the Cooper's Express. And don't forget Todd Yarling, hoping to start the U.S. West Cellular for the first time.
Todd has not had the best of luck today. Let's take a look as they come down. It's Cooper's Express in lane number 1. Oh Boy, Oberto, lane 2. The Holset Miss Mazda, lane 3. Those are the 3 boats leading the pack. As they take the start, the flag is up, and they are into the start of Heat 2B. Leading the pack into turn number 1 will be Cooper's Express. Mitch Evans on the inside. But, boy, it's going to be anybody's race coming out on that backstretch.
Oh, boy, Alberta, right in lane number 2 among all that water. As your leader is going to be Cooper's Express coming off of corner number 2 down the back chute. It's going to be Mitch Evans, but he's going to get a challenge. Coming right up of his rooster tail on the outside is Oh Boy Alberta with George Woods Jr. And not too far back, our third place boat, the whole set Miss Mazda. There he goes. Our leader is now changed.
George Woods Jr. finds the extra power. He goes way wide on the outside. That'll give Cooper's Express the advantage on the inside again. And again, Mitch Evans is trying to power on to take it. And watch out. Holset, Miss Mazda, far to the outside, is flat. Pedal to the metal. It is Mike Hansen trying to catch both of the leaders. But the leader coming out of the turn is Mitch Evans in the Cooper's Express. And now, George Woods Jr. is not looking at the leader. He's looking at the guy off to his right, Mike Hansen, in the Holset Miss Mazda. 114.960 for the lead boat. And here's George Woods Jr. again.
And he's going to get a challenge again, but he doesn't hold his lane. He takes out some water, and the leader is George Woods Jr. The lead has changed hands for the third time, taking out some water, but coming back up on plane is Mitch Evans. He'll maintain now third place as the Holset Miss Mazda also got by him.
I don't think this race is over yet as Mitch Evans gets back up on plane, and he's going to challenge and try to come up into that field again. Your lead boat right now, George Woods Jr. in Oh Boy Oberto. This has been the boat that we described as consistent all year long. He's got himself up in the lead. Let's see if he can hold it. The challenge is there from the Holset Miss Mazda. You could barely see the wing as he flew by in the back. He is staying far to the outside. Mike Hansen trying to take advantage of the outside water. It's a little bit smoother. He wants to hold his speed up. And you can see that he's closing the gap now. Hansen is the boat on the left of your screen. On the right, it is on the inside. George Woods Jr. in the lead in the Oh Boy Oberto.
113.780 miles per hour on the Zenith computer as we go into corner number 2 for the second time, and coming out on top, maintaining about a boat and a half length lead, is George Woods Jr. over the Holset Miss Mazda, who's now inching up on his right, coming up into his rooster tail. It's going to be a battle down this back chute before it's over.
Mike Hansen already has a win under his belt today, and look at him now as he tries to take the lead away. That is the outside boat on the left of your screen, but be careful, they're coming into traffic now. That could cause a slowdown. Mike Hansen has to go even wider on the turn. George Woods Jr. takes advantage of it, comes up on the inside and takes back the lead in Oh Boy Oberto. But here comes Hansen again.
Hansen goes wide, keeps his RPMs up on his Allison turbocharged engine, but a little extra juice from the Rolls Merlin of Oh Boy Oberto, George Woods, as they come down now and coming up again on the outside. Boy, what a race we've got. These reciprocating engines are really doing a job here in this heat.
They certainly are, and the fans on the shoreline are getting a big kick out of it. Each one has chosen a boat that they want to favor, and they're doing a great job rooting them home. But right now, those that have chosen the Oh Boy Oberto are rooting hard because he's getting the challenge again. And this time, Mike Hansen takes him on the straightaway. He's been able to take him on the turns before. Now he's taking him on the straightaway. The question is, can he hold it around the turn?
In 2 laps, the Holset Miss Mazda, driven by Mike Hansen, has moved from third now up to first as he hangs it on the hook in corner number 4 in some sloppy water, takes it wide, leaves room for the Oh Boy Oberto, and comes down to complete another lap.
The first heat win of the season for the Holset Miss Mazda occurred earlier today right here on the Columbia River. And right now, Mike Hansen is heading his boat in the direction of another win. He's trying to bring it down and keep the Oh Boy Oberto on the inside and off of his left-hand hip. And Mike Hansen is just doing a great job at driving. George Woods Jr. now has fallen back a little bit. He's about 4 to 5 boat lengths back. In 4th position now, it is Jerry Hopp in the Jackpot Food Mart boat. And he has got the boat running. He's got to be happy about that. He had bad luck earlier and was not able to get into the race. Bad luck does continue for Todd Yarling, however, in U.S. West Cellular. Here comes the checkered flag out for Mike Hansen. And he's slowing the boat down. He is losing his rooster tail, but it matters little. The checkered flag waved him across the line. He went dead right across the finish line. Second place in the heat to George Woods in the Oh Boy Oberto. We'll be back with more from Tri-Cities, Washington, as the HFC American Hydroplane Racing Series continues.
Jim Hendrick and Dick Crippen back here at Tri-Cities, Washington. There's the results of Heat 2B. Holset Miss Mazda wins their second heat of the day, and the rest of the crew in the order finished. Now let's go to the pits and Dick Crippen.
Well, Michael, is it getting old hat yet?
Oh, no, this is just the beginning. What are you talking about?
This had to be a special one, though. You went up against Oh Boy Alberto. It seemed like you rode with him for a while, and all of a sudden you popped at 122, kind of caught him off guard, and you were gone.
Well, I was just trying to keep him in my sights. The idea was not to let Cooper beat us. And I saw Cooper was in lane 1, and for the first lap or two, I knew Cooper was still up there with him. So I was just hanging back, and then finally I said, what the heck, we got a lap to go. Put it down on the pedal, and we got top end on him. I mean, this thing really gets down the straightaway.
There are a lot of Unlimited Hydroplane fans lining the Columbia River today. Each race, we take an in-depth look at a different racing team. This race, no exception. Let's go to Dick Crippen. Dick?
We talk about crews and we give them different titles. If we were to talk about this crew, I think we would say determination. Jerry Hopp, you and your crew and your sponsors have been here all year. You make all the races. You've had good days. You've had not so good days.
Yes, it's been a kind of a trying season this year. We've had a lot of trouble. The different sponsors we've had, Miss Expert Automotive in Houston, Paddock Pools picked us up on the back east swing. Jackpot Food Mart has us out here on the West Coast.
Okay, Jerry, what about the crew?
Okay, we have Mike Kearns and George Miller that are the backbone of the whole crew. They've been on the road with us the whole time. They started working on the boat in early spring. They're volunteers. We pick up the food and room for them, and that's about it. We have a lot of other support at our home base in Snohomish, Washington. We've got Dave and Jason Wolford that do all of our engines and put a lot of time in all winter long in a building that wasn't heated too well. And then we have Ron Olson and Gary Hollins that have helped out for the last 3 or 4 years on our project, doing hull work and body work and paint work. We have my son Greg, who also races boats, and his buddy Vance, my wife Dorothy, my parents Ed and Edie Hopp, my aunt and uncle Ralph and Flo Penns, and just numerous people, you know, that I couldn't even begin to imagine or remember their names.
And it all comes together under Al, Big Al.
Yeah, Al Thorson, the owner, the crew chief, the guru of the whole thing that really makes it all work. We just, you know, he leads us into battle.
Al, the crew itself, I mean, it's tough. You got to keep this crew kind of going. I mean, you got to give them a pep talk every now and then.
Well, most of them are pretty well turned on. They know what it's all about, and they're geared up for doing it. And we have a couple guys that go the whole circuit with us, and then we have volunteer guys at home that spend their time just for the love of the sport. And they're here with us too today, you know, and we're all in here plugging away.